Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Reverend Mariam, or Bishop Mariam, better known as Phoenix, with the Awakening of Phoenix, Living with Disability Healing LLC. Welcome to my channel, Living with Disability Healing. Today is a special day in remembrance for murder victims. September 25th, 2007. The U.S. Congress designated September 25th of each year as the National Day of Remembrance for Murder Victims. The resolution states that this day provides an opportunity for the people of the United States to honor the memories of murder victims and to recognize the impact on surviving family members. I am a surviving daughter of a mother who was murdered, smushed between two cars while I was age 13. At age 18, I survived my father, who was murdered and stabbed over 40 times. I welcome all to share your stories in the comment box and the impact that it had on your life, or any therapeutic measures that you've took that makes the quality of your life improved. It's traumatic to mourn a loved one and grieve a loved one or a family member that's passed on, but to lose one from a heinous crime of violent murder, to lose a loved one from a heinous crime or a violent murder and not have justice is a trauma that many of you all too well know. Know that you're not alone. I pray that on the hardest days that you find peace that passes all understanding. Today we'll cover what you can do to honor them, what you can do to heal. And one of my favorite things to do on a continual basis that will help you have a sense of closure, even though you may never get it, a sense of it, that will help you get some kind of power back, even though time may pass by and it is old to everyone else. It feels like yesterday to you. How do you get past that? And that's what we plan on doing today. But before we begin, let's please have a moment of silence. I think for a lot of us, the government, our Congress, making it official, September 25th, a day of remembrance for murder victims. I think it's so important for us because of the way that our loved ones were taken from us, were taken from this world. We don't know what they could have done, what they could have turned into, with who they could have become, regardless of their age. And after that, all you can think about is the pain and the suffering they went through. But life doesn't stop. The world doesn't stop. Life still goes on, and you find yourself picking up crumbs of time just to find time to grieve. Well, my friends, this is how I start most of my days. No matter what, I get out of the bed. I get dressed, I pray, and I get dressed. I write in my journal because I truly am working on myself. My channel is called The Awakening of Phoenix, Living with Disability Healing, because I'm living with disability and I'm healing betrayal that caused mental illness and physical illness. Diagnosed with autism, PTSD, anxiety, depression, dysautonomia. That was found to be vasovagal syncope. My friends, I faint and pass out 1 to 3 times a day. Well, it used to be 6 times today, recorded up to 11 times in one day. And I lost my tooth. I've gotten stitches. I'm in danger of congestive heart failure. In 2019, I was diagnosed with agoraphobia. And I'm 80% homebound. So most days, it's all I can do is self-care. But this is a special self-care day because it's to honor my parents who were murdered. Starting off with a healing moisture and protein treatment here, guys. For my hair that I learned from the Nigerian part of my bloodline during my expeditions and quest on Ancestry.com. Oh my goodness. But, living with all of that I just mentioned, all my diagnosis, guys, this is what it's like living with disability. And you have no idea how little energy comes with things like a heart disease or dysautonomia, chronic fatigue syndrome. I forgot to mention that part. I have chronic fatigue syndrome and diagnosed in 2022. But I had to show you guys this dramatic difference from this hair treatment. So if you ever neglect yourself, and I don't think it really matters what hair type you have, it works. So good. But there's something about self-care, the spirituality of self-care, and the spirituality mainly of cleansing your body. But right now I'm talking about hair, and hair is so spiritual to me. I lean towards it it reflects where I am on my healing journey. And I'm talking about that inner work that you do. Again, I will repeat myself. Please be patient with me. God is not through with me yet. Okay, my friends, so as you can see, fatigue has hit me. All I did was put this DIY treatment in my hair, but I gotta give myself some energy. Food is fuel for your body. I don't have enough energy to make anything to put fuel in my body. That makes no sense at all, right? So we're going for prepackaged here. I'm all for, making your own food, but there are times when you just don't feel like it. Jiffy is a trusted brand. This is not sponsored. This is just what I actually use. This is my day. You're spending the day with me. So yeah, the apples are artificial, but my goodness, if you make it right, you just follow the box's directions. You don't have to doctor it up. That's another thing that I like about this. It comes out golden brown, perfection, moist, soft, the perfect sweetness. It doesn't taste like you have a load of sugar being put in your body. You're fueled. It will last, keep you satiated for a while. Guys, you can't go wrong with some Jiffy apple cinnamon muffins. You guys know I have something in the oven. It is time for some goodies. And we're not talking about the food you put in your mouth. We're talking about the food you ingest and digest with your eyes, spirit, and soul. My friends, that plasticity inside of your brain. This right here, I just started. I've had this book for a year, you guys. I've had it for a year. I'm just now starting to read it. All right, so I have rinsed, washed, and conditioned my hair. I used a Dimnum brush to get tangles out because I really haven't brushed my hair in a while. I've combed it with a wide tooth comb, but it just needed a little extra, so I used the Dimnum. But it's a little wet. It's drying a little bit. I had some tea and one of those blueberry muffins. So this is my hair, you guys. Look at this. There's no product in here. So hydrated, moisturized, and it feels really good. I'm going to blow dry it, put a little mango butter in it and blow dry, and then I'm going to make a little snack. Now, when you're celebrating a memory of a loved one, and this is Remembrance Month for violent crimes, anxiety is big, depression is big, so you're going to want comfort food, and you usually go and grab for that bad stuff. Change it up this year. Change it up this year. I know that my parents both died of a heinous crime, which I will share with you guys after I cook. But this little snack that I'm going to make for you is one of my favorites. A lot of you guys have already seen me make it. But it's one of my favorites. But instead of grabbing that chocolate cake or that candy bar, you know, or that cup of pudding, the stuff that you're loving and going to enjoy while you eat it, but be very full of guilt and regret and remorse. And it doesn't make your body feel good either, right? So this year, I thought to myself, switch it up. So instead of grabbing that, I'm going to give myself some discipline because I know that my parents would be proud of me if I did. And I would be proud of myself too. So you guys know what this dessert is. To me, it's dessert. But you could use it for a meal, a snack, a handheld meal. It's the good stuff, my friends. Blow dry, then snack. Let's get started. cannot ignore this deliciousness in your face. This is my favorite snack, lunch. It's my whatever meal. It's a perfect go-to. Mango salsa. So many things you can do with this. So yummy. So as you can see, this is absolutely easy to make. It is so gorgeous. The colors are vibrant and it just picks up your mood. It smells so good. You can smell the peppers. You can smell the sweetness of the honey and the mango. My friends, this is healthy. It's easy to make. It's delicious. It is decadent. So comforting. So, my friends, at this time, I'd like to invite you to my other channel, Dinner Time to Heal. Well, we have some really good recipes on there. You are missing out. But very shortly, we'll be talking about the energy of food and what it does to your body system and the organs in your body, especially your spiritual body. I hope to see you there. just want to call this to your attention real quick because they say that it doesn't matter. You can just eat the chickpeas or garbanzo beans as is. But when I de-skin these, when I take the shells off of it, there's just no way in my mind can wrap around. It just can't, my mind can't wrap around it. I do not think that my body is going to digest all of this. Look at this. That's a lot. No, it's just a no for me. So my friends, this next step is fairly important. So once you put in the onions, you're going to let it get a little translucent. And then you're going to put in 1.5 teaspoon of cumin, 1.5 teaspoon of chili powder, 1 tablespoon of paprika, 1 tablespoon to 1 tablespoon and a half cinnamon. And then you're going to stir that. And then you're going to put in the thyme. So you don't want to put in the thyme with all that other stuff because it's not going to bring out the energy or the enzymes. The flavor is not going to come out properly. After you do this, you're going to go ahead and add in your sweet potatoes, 2 cans of chickpeas, a can of diced tomatoes. I have Italian style. And with that, 2 cans of water, and let it simmer and cook for about 20 minutes, and we shall return to it. I thought I'd give it a little Bible study as I wait. And these are not only scriptures that I've used for other people's funerals, but for my own comfort. 2 Corinthians 5:1. For we know that if the tent that is our earthly home is destroyed, we have a building from God, a house not made with hands, eternal in the heavens. Death is a part of life. And we all know one day we're going to die. Pass on. Go to the next life. We all know that one day that we have to accept the inevitability that we will lose someone we love. We will have to say goodbye. Whether it be because of illness, natural causes, or an accident of some kind, like a vehicle accident. Unfortunately, maybe even suicide. But not everyone will understand what it's like to grieve and mourn after a family member or a loved one because of a violent crime or murder. The thoughts that plague your mind never ceases to desist. Some days are stronger, and some days maybe the effect is just a little dull. But it is always there, hanging over your head like some kind of dark cloud. You wonder things like, if they were alone, how afraid were they? How much pain did they feel? How long did it last? Did they make it to the other side? Did they go to heaven? What would life be like? I was 13 years old. What would life be like if they were still here to protect you? You could have been better off in all aspects of your life. Would you not have been abused if you had a parent there? Would you be able to function more if you had someone to take care of still, like your son or daughter? This is what it's like right after the murder. And it never stops. It doesn't stop. So I want you to know that this is very difficult. I'm smiling. I am maintaining my composure. I grew up in the Midwest. And that is how we do it. Keeping up appearances is very important to us. We are very eclectic in our ways. We take tones of Southern drawls of demeanor and decorum and manners. We lean heavy on Germanic practices. I'm from Cincinnati, and even our downtown is called Over the Rhine. This is Appalachian country. So, yeah, wear a smile. Okay? Smile through it. You're not better than anybody else. You're not any exception. So, showing your emotions of hurt, pain, or anything that is negative is considered rude. You'll get beat up as a child, as someone who was autistic growing up. My goodness, I got a lot of bullying because I was super sensitive. I'm one of those really sensitive, and not just sensitive to lights and sensitive to sounds and things of that nature, but also a sensitive person. I cry on commercials. The wind changes. I'm crying. You tell me something that happened to you, I'm gonna cry. If you start crying, I'm just gonna cry with you, and then something else kicks in. Like I think that's like the nurse in me. Like I'll definitely sit there and be the person in the room when there's this complete chaos that's just like, oh, everybody calm down. This is what we need to do, and everything will be fine. She'll be fine. We'll stop the blood. It'll be just fine. And everybody's like, oh my gosh, she's bleeding, and blood's like, and I'm just like, oh wow, that's dark blood. I know where that's coming from. So yeah, and I'm almost 50 years old, so I've had a lot of practice with people who don't like it. So it's made me this way. And you tend to over-explain yourself, right? Have you discovered that? If you've lost a loved one from a violent crime, you feel like you have to give excuses to the trauma that you're experiencing and how it's showing up physically or outside of you. The trauma's inside, but it doesn't stay encapsulated. It is not bound. There's not a binding around the trauma. And it reflects, and sometimes it can project, but it reflects outside. And so people pick up on that, and it makes them feel uncomfortable. I think generally, even the thought now is that we're finding more about, narcissism and stuff like that. A lot of people who aren't in that box are getting put in there because the symptoms are so easily, could be autism, it could be somebody who is being gaslighted, it could be somebody who is a victim of narcissism, but generally, regardless of that, put that aside. We don't really go there on this channel or in our ministry. We are aware of it, but we don't choose to give it attention in that way. So we're not talking about that. We're talking about people who have survived loved ones who have been killed by violent crimes. And most of them without justice. So it reflects, and people who have not experienced this are uncomfortable around what is being reflected. This is not something that you could subdue, because it's well out of the norm to lose a loved one to a heinous crime. But it is becoming quite a norm, because all too well, too many of you are going to know what I'm talking about. But if you find that it's so hard to really be able to show how you're truly feeling, and you're having to push it down, you got to find ways to get it out. So safely, you can tell your story in the comments, because here I'm not going to allow anyone to say a rude comment to you. And we will seek consequences for it. So you're safe. This is a safe place. This is a safe place to tell your story. Whether someone agrees with it or not, your opinions. But please make sure that your opinions are not passive aggressively trying to bring down or belittle someone's feelings or emotions or trauma that they're experiencing or the severity of their story. And that's all I want to say about that before we moved on. So, with that being said, as you know, I've just finished telling. I just got finished telling some of my story. And, goodness, yeah. I was 13 years old. All my life, I was on the stage. My first stage performance was at 3.5, almost 4 years old, in church. And yeah, I had autism, so that was how what my mother used to help me heal. I had speech classes, etiquette classes, how to sit properly, what fork to use, when to talk and when not to. I had tap classes, I had toe shoes, I had ballet classes, jazz dance, modern dance, acting, all of that. But all of it helped me fit in. And it helped me find ways to heal when I didn't fit in. So it helped me get my power back, the arts. And I would say, grasp hold to that. That is a way that you can heal the loss of a violent crime, the arts, because the subduing. And art is a way to express what you can't verbalize. And with art, it's more beautiful, or it's more profound. It's more drawing in and drawing out things in people that make them uncomfortable when you're literally just talking about it versus visual or kinesthetic art experience. You're walking around and you're looking at other people's reactions and the artwork, a gallery. It gets you out of your mind, but it makes you, the mind doesn't like to be watched. So art can be sneaky for the mind. It allows you to look at your mind so that you can direct your emotions better. And the colors on the canvas, it's so alive. But the thing about art is, when you are expressing yourself through art, especially a trauma like losing a loved one, through a heinous crime, a violent crime, through murder, and you can't express it because it is uncomfortable for people enough to even think about death, let alone dying in that way or losing a loved one in that way. My goodness. What it does is make people still hear you. It makes it more comfortable for them to see what is going on inside of you. And it can be expressed in an abstract way or using realism. There's different forms of art put on canvas, but there's different forms of art. There's the medical arts. Da Vinci was an artist that put art on canvas, but because of Da Vinci and his artwork and drawing organs, a lot of people, know Da Vinci for specific art, pieces, but they don't realize that he drew weaponry. He helped war. He helped medical science. medical arts, the art of healing, the art of this, the art of cooking. There's so many different arts that you could use to help heal yourself, that won't make other people uncomfortable, but still will improve the quality of your life. But besides that, I'm gonna say it, you gotta get some therapy. You gotta get some kind of counseling. And you have to be able to get it out. You can't hold it in. Even if you can't find in the right type of support to be able to verbalize it when you need it all the time. You still need to be able to get it out. It can't fester inside of you. It ages you. It makes you do the stupidest things the mistakes that you make when you're trying to suppress this type of trauma is pretty messed up. And children, if children lose a loved one, a parent, to a heinous crime, to murder, that affects your whole life. Like for me, I'll just go right into it. At age, like I was saying, my mother put me through all of these things and made good use of it throughout my entire life. I started speaking better. My stemming lessened, and I was able to conform to the norm and fit in and look like everyone else. I didn't get picked on as much. So me and my sister got our first job in Columbia, California. My sister has had work before, but this was my first job. My first paying job was $1,400. And they gave me the job on my 13th birthday. They called, my mom answered, guess what, here you have a phone call. And I'm like, what, you got the job? I was a slave. That was my first role. In Huckleberry Finn, Big River. And I was the lead singing slave. Besides Jim, if you've ever know the story of Huckleberry Finn and Tom Sawyer, then Appalachian Mississippi River story, then you know what I'm talking about. But and it's set back in that time, but that was our first paying job. And it was the first time that I was away from my mother, and it was over the summer. And we stayed in a college dorm. It was so cool. But it came time for the performance, and my mom was going to drive. It was a 3-hour drive from Santa Clara to Columbia, California. Is where we were. And it was me and my sister. My sister was 3 years older than I was. I had just turned 13. And she was supposed to come and watch her performance. She never made it. She never made it. But I remember, she stopped at a gas station. This is what I was told at 13 years old. And my sister had to tell me. No one in the family knew how to tell me, or my sister felt like she was supposed to. I don't know how she handled that. If anybody had to do that, be the one to tell the other person, put that in the comment box. What was that like for you? Well, that's this trauma my sister experienced, having to tell her little sister, Mom was murdered. She got Burger King. Then she went to a gas station, and she started to get out of her car to pay for her gas, because she was going to make the long trip. She had food. She was going to get gas. And she put one foot out. You know how you open your car door and you're about to stand up. And I guess she had one arm out and the other arm inside, and her head poking out the car door and one leg out the car door. And a van hit the car, and closed her. A van closed my mother's body in. Of course, I had questions. I'm asking my sister all these questions, my poor sister. What happened, Did they move the van, and how did they get her out? She said that nobody realized it had happened right away. But it took 20 minutes for the fireman to show up and get the jaws of life to get her out. And she didn't die till she arrived to the hospital. So she tried to hold on. By herself. That's what happened to my mom. And it was like, I remember we didn't know. We were waiting for her and waiting. She didn't come to the performance. We thought, maybe we don't see her in the audience. We're looking. You can only see so much from behind the stage. We just can't see. The lights are bright. You can't see all the faces all the time. So we're just gonna wait. Maybe she's in the back. She's very shy. She never talked to anyone. My mother didn't work. She was a homemaker. She had a degree in nursing, but she was a homemaker. She had a temporary job as a nurse at a nursing home at one point. She had a temporary job as a dental assistant, but for the most part, she didn't work. She did the seasonal job wrapping gifts at Sears. You guys remember that? But yeah, she didn't do anything. So she was coming to see us, and I remember we were standing outside. We decided to wait. We were like, well, my mom, maybe she got lost. We were coming up with all kinds of reasons why she wasn't there. At the end of the show, the actors get to go out and meet everybody in the audience, sign autographs. It's really fun. The thespian, part of the mission of doing a performance. But we waited. It was dark outside, and there was this star. My sister, we were just staring out into the night sky, and it was lit up with all of these stars. And there was this one star that just twinkled so bright. And I felt it. I felt it so deep inside, That was my mom. Me and my sister looked at each other. October. She was to my left. We were sitting on this wall. And outside of the theater, we didn't want to leave. We waited so long. I don't even know what time it was. But piercing brightness, it shined. And I felt it. I said, that's Mom. Mom's gone. Mom's gone. And my sister agreed. And she said, yeah, I know. I didn't get taken care of by loving family. I didn't get that. It was rough. It was really hard. A lot of bad things happened. They didn't know where my father was. But it was something about that star, which will tie into what happened to my father. It reminded me, I don't know if it was, but it's a Venus thing star, you know. My father used to call me that. He'd call me Venus or Phoenix. Born again, you keep rising back up, don't you? Don't you, little Phoenix? You know why they keep picking on you? Because you're like the biggest, brightest star of Venus. My father, one of the bad things that happened to me after my mother passed, my father, I had to go live with my aunt, and then that didn't work out good, so I went to go live with my father. And my stepmother. And it was the woman that my father cheated on my mother with. I didn't understand that. Guys, a lot of other stuff happened, but that's where I went. And long story short, I wound up moving out and graduating early from high school. I had a job, and I came home from a you get left vulnerable, you know. As a child, if you lose your parents, you know, period, regardless to a heinous crime. But I came out to live with my father, and I was able to get my own place. I had a job. I just kind of came home to my apartment, and a man had been following me for a while. I had no idea. And he broke in. He broke into my apartment. He beat me. He raped me for hours. That's how I lost my virginity. I was raised to keep my legs closed, and I did. I was successful one of those good girls. And he took it and hogtied me, threw me in the trunk of the back of my own car. He kept me against my will for months and months. I became a mother. I got my first child out of this. I did escape. 7 months later, I have a child early. I had a child early. But a week, maybe 1 to 2 weeks after I had my daughter from this experience, my father laid in a puddle of blood, gurgling, struggling to breathe because of over 40 stab wounds to his body. Neither killer was found to neither one of my parents' death. And yeah, my life just kept going downhill, guys. My apartment right now, this is my first apartment ever since then by myself. My children, I've had other children. I've had 2 other relationships. And I was out there and I messed up and had another relationship that wasn't exactly a relationship. It was just I put myself out there, guys. You do some terrible things. We're not to the part of mistakes yet, but we're about to get there, so I'm just kind of introducing it a little bit. I've made some mistakes, so you guys, you listen to me saying if you made mistakes and you're trying to, heal from that, it's because I've made some. I can help you because I have beeped up. Oh my goodness, you guys. I've got some mistakes under my belt that I can help guide other people through. So, yeah, we'll be talking about those. So subscribe. So if you've done that as well, these things that I am going to show you what to do, they all can help you heal from those type of things that happen. Some gruesome things could take place to the person that has lost a loved one from a heinous crime. For some reason, there's a type of energy that gets stuck on you after that. If any of you guys understand what I'm talking about, please put it in the comment box. Tell me you know what I'm saying. Yeah, it could get pretty bad. So all of these things that I'm about to show you really will improve the quality of your life while living and healing with the trauma that you more than likely, this is not a trauma that you could, as they say, get over it, you pretty poor little thing. This is not one of those things. Somebody, you lose your parent and then something really bad happens to you after that. A heinous crime happens to your parent and then a heinous crime happens to you after, which is very prevalent. That's a part that nobody talks about. Especially if you're a child that loses a parent to murder. I don't know what the statistics are of it. I'm going to try to find out and I'll make another video. But this is my first video for Remembrance Day. Okay. September 25th. But these things that I'm going to show you. So yeah, this is my dad. I'll keep it on the same side. This is my dad. This is my mom. These are my parents. Okay. So, to be able to get that energy shooken off, to have a more malleable healing experience. Because, like I said, losing a loved one to a heinous crime, like murder, a violent crime, is Remembrance Day. Is what we're talking about, September 25th. It's not something that you're going to move past. Some of the things that happen because of it, you might be able to heal from. But this is not something that you heal from. This is something that you have to live with. So, in order to improve the quality of your life, I have a few things here that I'd like to share with you. Like I just showed you, pictures of parents. Make sure you have them up. Or if it hurts too much, put it on your cell phone, right? Keep it in your Bible. Get a picture and put it in your Bible or your Quran. I'm an interfaith bishop. So whatever religion you are, I might share some things from the Bible. That's how where my parents, where my mother was Protestant, the actual first Protestant church ever. That was my mother. That's where I was raised in. My father, Roman Catholic, the man that named me Muslim from the nation Islam. So these are the two books that I mainly study from, and mostly for a personal level, but I study many religions, spiritualities, and schools of thoughts because I am an interfaith minister, ordained as a bishop, educated in philosophy, theology, and clinical pastoral psychology. So, but these are things that I actually do for myself because I am healing. This is my opportunity to do so. I have an opportunity to do so. I didn't have an opportunity to do so. That was taken away from me after my mother was taken and the way that she was taken. And things just kept spiraling down and out of control. And so many things were out of my control because I was a child. And then I became a mother while I was still a child. I was a teenager. Maybe a legal adult, but I was still a teenager. And I wasn't a legal adult when I was raped and kidnapped. So this is really my first opportunity to really even get to know myself, really. So this is a real healing journey. This is really what I do. But yeah, I have this checklist here because I'm so flustered and I already have a bad memory. If you're following, if you're subscribed, then you know. I had 12 strokes. Most of them during surgery. I had a AAA and a bypass to replace my ascending and descending aorta. See, this is what happens when they replaced it with my clavicle artery. But this is what happens instead of the one in my leg. This is what happens to your body when you hold these things in, when you don't get them out, when you don't get therapy. Okay? It builds up. And it manifests as other things like physiological disorders that you can actually pass down. It could be inherited to your other family members that you give birth to, or skip a few generations. But you've got to heal some of these things, and this is what I do. Get into a group. Share your story with other people that have experienced something similar. We always want to reach out to people who have not experienced it because that's where most of your life is. And they're not going to understand. Only so much. Empathy can only go so much. You don't want sympathy because sympathy comes with too many strings. But the empathy can only go so far without the experience. I don't know where you are, where you're living at, what is available to you. Check out this video. The hunt for therapy, my friends, is real. And then if you do find a good therapist, perhaps they just don't have any experience in giving therapy to someone who has lost a loved one through murder. And let's face it, that's not prevalent. And it's not safe and easy to make a living from. It is taxing on the body and the mind, spirit, and soul to be a therapist of any kind, whether it is a psychotherapist, a counselor, a minister, a psychiatrist, or anything that falls under the umbrella of healthcare. So to find somebody that can handle that load along with all of the other clients or patients, whatever facility name they choose to use, that they work through, or whatever private practice, whatever name they label it, whatever name they label you, caseload. If you're a child, case manager, right? To find one that truly has the experience, and in good faith is called to be a psychologist, not just a career or a job, and they're good at it, but, somebody that really that's really them. They're being themselves. That really is the ideal for everyone, but not even everyone could afford that, right? But to search for it sometimes leads to you actually creating that as well. So if anybody has any groups or anything like that out there, feel free to put the link. We'll check it out, and if we are not in agreement with it, we can always remove it. But please feel free to put the link there if it has something to do with people getting help and being around other people who have lost loved ones through murder or heinous or violent crimes. Okay, so so share your stories with that as well. If you've had any bad therapy or good therapy that you could give some hope or shed some light and insights for people watching, psychologists and patients alike, please, again, here's the video. Check out the video, watch it, go on there and share your stories. One of the biggest things that depression and anxiety, PTSD, especially if you witnessed this crime, overshadows your whole existence. You build a life around these illnesses. So it's hard to take care of yourself. So one thing that I had to realize, and it was hard for me to come to, because, I lose my mom 3 years later, 3.5 years later, 3.5, 4 years later, I am a mother out of this heinous crime. And then I keep being a mother because, yeah. The first relationship I had after that was with a man that was almost 11 years older than me. So I was definitely taken advantage of in what I was already going through, and I didn't have any support or help. So I was out there, a little sheep amongst all these wolves. Yes, that's what it was like. But I forced into motherhood so early, and I just kept going, girl, let me just say, like a little bunny, I was just out there, and just kept popping them out. I had 4 children. Yeah. Taking care of myself, I barely even figured out how to do it. To begin with, I didn't even have anyone show me how to shave. Just the little things, guys, when to shave, all those types of things, I didn't have, my mom was gone before I got that part. So, yeah, then I became a mom, so I had to figure it out for them, and it wasn't about taking care of myself, so, let alone figuring out how I could take care of myself. I didn't know how to, so I'm literally kind of figuring it out now. All the homelessness that I've, it's what it's like after. What the impact of what it's like September 25th. This is the impact it could have. But what I had to come to realize was that my parents would not want me to neglect myself. And all of the work my mother did raising an autistic child, I can't let it go in vain. She took such good care of me and my sister. She really did. She gave up her life as a career and started a completely new one, and found things that she could fall in love with about it, and found a way to make it become her. Only to divorce and then, have to go all over again, but start from the very, very bottom. There's no way that I could just, let all that go. So, self-care. Think about it. They don't want you to neglect yourself. Relearn. Forget about everything you know, because it's gonna be different now. Self-care. Relearn how to take care of yourself. We have a thing. Self, me, myself, and I is your universal Trinity. There's the Holy Trinity. God the Father, the Son, Holy Spirit. Then you have this fleshy body, and you have the spirit, and then you have the soul. That's your Trinity. Me, this fleshy body, myself, my spirit, and I, my soul. Me, myself, and I must take care. Okay? Get a routine that you are anal retentive about that involves your creator, whether you call him Allah, Yeshua, Jesus, Mother God, universe, all right, any of the 100 Hindi deities. Okay, that's in my bloodline, by the way. Just to let you guys know. I'm American. I'm all mixed up. So many things in my blood, right? So if you, whichever you choose as your religious follow, your religious way, universally, spiritually, we all can agree, right? All of us, that forgiveness could be a part of self-care, right? And I know this is a very sensitive subject, so I'm not going to really go too deep into it because I feel like that's a whole nother video when you're talking about forgiveness, and then when you're talking about forgiveness for a heinous crime, and then you're talking about forgiveness for things that you can't forgive. I feel like a heinous crime doesn't exactly even fall into that category. It's something completely different. You can't stuff it into any category that has been made. You can't do it. It doesn't fit no matter what you try to do. So the people that try to go into those categories to get help don't get it. So I'm going to make another video about it. But forgiveness for you. And you all know what I'm talking about. Forgiveness for them as well is a part of self-care. Now, I'm not choosing it for you, how and when or if. But it hangs there like the dark cloud of losing your loved one to the heinous crime just as much. So avoiding it causes even more destruction on the inside. And you have to decide what's best for you. Once you decide it, lose the shame and guilt about it. Don't worry about what anybody else is thinking about it. As long as you are putting the Most High ahead of how that pans out. The flow of it, the timing of it. No matter what religion, remember, we can all agree on that one. That self-care is a huge part of that. And when you neglect that, other things that are attached to it that you might not have realized begin to it trickles into it, and it messes stuff up. So part of your self-care is don't avoid that. And it can get you in your head, eat you up, the unforgiving. So write a letter. This is my favorite thing. Writing a letter to the person that took your loved one away. Some of us get an opportunity to go to court and read it to them while they're standing there waiting for their indictment, for their conviction. How much time are you going to serve for taking the time of my loved one away? My time with them. But if you didn't get that, you could still write the letter. And don't think you can write it and then that's it. Well, I've already done it. No, you can write it You can write a letter as many times as it takes. You can keep those letters and read them to validate your feelings. Or you can burn them and send them up. Most High, I believe you when you said vengeance is mine. If you're strong enough and you have the support system, or if you're strong enough and you need to do it by yourself, you don't need to have somebody with you to do this next one. Take some flowers. Go to the site it happened at and put some flowers there. Tell them that you love them. Bring a letter to them. Write a letter to the loved one you lost. Catch them up to date. Tell them what's going on in your life. If it hurts really bad, have you ever seen Collateral Beauty with Will Smith? Write a letter to death. It's okay to grieve in this way. Get it out. Grieving doesn't mean holding it in. Mourning doesn't mean holding it in. Cook their favorite foods, or cook something your time was taken away. So cook something that you think they would have loved. Like I made that Moroccan chickpea stew. And eat it in honor of them. Make an altar that you keep up or put up for the 25th or the day that they left. Put it up every year or hold it, keep it up there. They're still a part of the family. Does it hurt too much? Take the pictures down. Don't worry about what anybody thinks about that. When you're ready, put them back up. Do what's best for you. It's my greatest advice. And finally, light a candle and give them a moment of silence. You are worthy. You are enough. You are God's child. Thank you for watching. If you've been blessed by this content, help the phoenixhealingministries.org grow and subscribe to our channel. Give us a thumbs up and share our content. You're worth it. You're worthy. You're enough. You're God's child. And as always, it is not just your spirituality that can define your journey. It's your journey that can define your spirituality.